Hi, this is Mike Torsha, and welcome to Live Well and Thrive. I have a very special guest, Nicole Zeola. I just wanted to say I was so impressed by the information I read on your website about your spiritual life coach service. And it's way more than just that, but it's hard to kind of label it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed our conversation when you shared with me about what you do and you how people learn about why they have patterns of doing things from when their life experience when they're just, say, a child.
hmm
So I'd love for you to share with the audience about what you do and how important it is that we understand what your service is all about.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. So, essentially, what I do is help people to heal the emotional blocks that are keeping them from living in true alignment with their higher self. So, when I say higher self, it's with their fullest potential and all of the different parts of themselves that they're being called to be in this lifetime. And oftentimes, like we discussed a little bit, we have trauma. Most people have trauma, especially in our childhoods, that leave these really deep seated subconscious scars on the psyche. And when they're not healed and removed, this creates a lot of different limiting beliefs, self sabotage, things where we don't even realize as adults we're having trouble with relationships or with money or with our health. And a lot of that just stems from core traumas that haven't been healed and released. So the work I do is all about going in, finding where the core traumas are that have the highest energetic charge that are keeping us stuck in cycles that are not in alignment with our highest and best good so that we can heal them, release them, and be free.
So now, when you meet someone for the first time, do they say, I have issues with this, or you just have a general conversation and kind of pull it out of them?
Yeah, it's a combination. Of course, I love to have like an open dialogue, but as soon as I connect with somebody, I also am able to read their energy and see where the blocks are. And then I work with them going deeper. We do some meditations and journeying exercises to help to go really deep into the psyche to see, okay, like where is this stemming from? And then I help do energy work to release it because what happens is when we have trauma, it's actually stored in the physical body until it's released. And a lot of people don't realize that. So I know you're in health and wellness, and this happens so much disease that's being stored in the body. A lot of times that's just a lot of emotional, massive trauma that's being suppressed. I see this a lot with my clients. I work with people with cancer and all sorts of different health issues. And when we start to heal the trauma, the health starts to heal as well.
I am so agreeing on everything you're saying because I just went through an experience myself. About 2003, I was in a very bad motorcycle accident,
Mm,
and I crushed my hip and damaged my spine, and tore this, tore that, just a mess. And for 3 years, I was going through recovery. But what happened was I went through recovery. My right leg was not able to come back or turn a certain way. And I went to all the top doctors. But sure enough, I met this one Sikh. He's an amazing Dr. Hahari. And he told me that your leg is not rotating back because it still thinks it's injured.
hmm
Doesn't realize you've healed it. You've got to let it go. So the muscle was purposely building up scar tissue because it was locking it down. But then after the scar tissue was gone, broken up, I wasn't allowing it. So
hmm
when it would stop, I go, look, it won't go. That's because you're controlling it. And I
100%.
got to tell you something, after about 6 weeks, my leg comes all the way back. Because he worked on me psychologically to let it go.
hmm
You don't need to protect it.
Right.
And it was in me, my physical, mentally, and most everything was locking this leg down. So the
Totally.
whole time I just thought, hey, maybe it's just damage, just limited range of motion because of the hip replacement. It was because it was here
hmm
that was blocking me from letting my leg go to come back. And when it went back, I was like, God, like a miracle.
Right.
But then again, you're explaining how we're storing it in our mind and then storing it in our body,
Yeah.
inhibiting ourselves from doing things or doing the wrong things by what has happened. Now, how far can you go back? I mean, could it be trauma that when you were an infant
Yes.
So something
Absolutely.
in the crib and something you've dropped or
Totally.
whatever could be
Totally.
affecting why you
100%.
wow.
Yeah. That's why it's so incredible. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because until these things are healed, they're they're wounds. They're like we talked about. They're these scars that we have. And you use the metaphor of breaking up the scar tissue. It's we have to break up that energy. We have to release it in order to live completely free. And that's why I love doing the energy work, because it can go back from a lot of times from infancy to usually between the ages of 0 to 7, because that's when our subconscious mind is being completely created. And 90% of our thoughts, actions, decisions, beliefs, and behaviors as adults stem from the subconscious mind. So it's important to go back to that time and look and examine, okay, like what happened that helped me to form the beliefs that I have and how I see the world and how I see relationships and what my relationship is with money and my relationship with my health, and clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up so that we can be in full alignment and manifest all of our heart's deepest desires.
When we started talking yesterday, it triggered me to flash back to some of the things that were substantial things that happened in my life
Yeah.
when I was a child. And I remember one time I was in New York. I was about 8 years old, and there was these steep stairs that go down to our basement. And my father was always working on. He's making wine and everything downstairs. So I would just sit at the top of the stairs, and I was leaning over, and my dog was behind me and came running in because my mom came home with the dog, and it pushed me. So I went sliding down the stairs, screaming because there were hardwood stairs, and it was just being a kid going down really fast. And then there was a cement floor, so I went flying down, and I went like this, and my head just hit the cement floor. So my father heard me screaming. And he runs over and he picked me up and he's, brushed back my hair and he's looking, goes, "It's okay, it's okay." After that moment, I always looked at my father as a protector, you know,
Hmm.
and it was something that was very instrumental because my mom was very loving and passionate. But when I got hurt, he's the one that picked me up and said, "Okay, you'll be okay. You're a strong boy," right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I've been unstoppable when I put my mind to it. My father just instilled this thing in me, that's okay. You banged yourself, but you're okay. Get back up,
Yeah.
and that resonated. So instead of a negative in my life, that was a very positive
Yeah.
thing. But I've been now flashing back to all these other things. So just talking to you like triggered things. I didn't even have a session with you. We just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So I can imagine if you actually work with someone, how you could really clean out the closet, right? So to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. I love doing that because I always say, like, no stone left unturned. We don't want to leave anything there. We don't want to be living with any of this heavy weight or this trauma. And one thing I just want to say is when we're doing healing work, especially around like I call it mother wound and father wound, with this, the mother and the father roles, that they're very, very essential to our growth as a human being and who we end up being. And if we weren't nurtured, protected, empowered, and initiated with these core roles, we're going to have some issues. And it's not to blame anyone. When we go back and we do healing work, it's not to blame our parents. It's not to blame anyone. It's to actually reclaim our power and the pieces of us that were lost, so that we can stand in our full light and really, really embody all of who we are. So it's not a blaming. I think that sometimes gets hard as people don't want to blame anyone, or they're like, oh, my parents did the best that they could. And we're not saying that they didn't, but there were still some core things that were missing. And now we just need to go in and we need to heal that. And we need to give those pieces of ourselves that love and nurturing and attention that they need. Otherwise, we're going to be living in this dysregulated, energetic state. And that leads to self-sabotage. It leads to anxiety. It leads to fear. It leads to imposter syndrome, all the things, and illness too.
No, you're spot on, because when I shared with you in our initial conversation is that for many years, I was just a very overweight child. I was 14. I was 50 pounds overweight. Went to school dance. I just leaned against the wall, and not one girl would look in my direction. I would wear my brother's hand-me-downs to the clothes. He was taller than me, so I looked ridiculous. My mother used to cut my hair with a bowl on top of my head, so I looked like Mo from the Three Stooges. So I wasn't the most attractive-looking person. So I had this complex about being fat and ugly the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I got into bodybuilding, and I started building my body. And then I had this amazing physique. But I was still that fat little boy for a
Yeah.
very long time. And then I would go out and I'd meet all these amazing women, and I just couldn't stay with one woman. I always had to have that validation, the validation, the validation. Because even though I had this body, I still saw that little fat
Mm-hmm.
boy in
Totally.
the mirror. Until later on, I started realizing, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
If I have an incredible person in my life, why do I need all these other women in my life?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I really felt bad that I hadn't come to someone like you that could have healed me, because I had some really wonderful, wonderful women in my life that maybe I would have been married now.
Yeah.
Kids, you never know. But I do know how important it is for your work, because I saw it in myself, how I was self-destructive to my relationships.
Yeah.
And I can imagine how you're being in work too. I mean, how many times you have a worker that they just have this attitude?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because something happened when they were a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up,
Yeah.
and they never dealt with it, and it's lingering. And they can be a very good person and hardworking, intelligent, great at their job, but their people skills are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So now, was this something you went to school for, or you felt, hey, I feel like I'm an intuitive? How did this? Did you just wake up and say, I want to be this spiritual life coach? How did it happen?
So I've been on my spiritual journey for 20 years, and I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So I've owned and built several businesses. And about 10 years ago, I just felt my soul was calling me to help people. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. So I started coaching on the side of my business a little bit here and there. And then about 5 years ago, I went into deep meditation, like 5 hours a day.
Wow.
And I was just so clearly shown that this is the work I'm supposed to be doing. And I called my business partners and I told them, like, I'm out. And I went full time doing
What
this.
type of business were you doing right then and there?
So then and there was a company I helped co-create called Wow Moms. So it was basically a center for families where parents could come. We had all sorts of amazing activities. So we had these above ground swimming pools where we did flotation therapy and swimming for the kids. We had classes. We had a beautiful organic cafe. We had a play area. We had a place where you could get your nails done. We wanted it to kind of be like a
Sounds
one-stop shop.
amazing.
It was incredible.
So you had a fulfilling career, but then you felt you had a higher purpose.
A higher, so much
I
higher.
love the fact that you weren't miserable with your job. You hated your work. You had to find something else, that you just elevated your goals.
It was definitely a very clear calling that I had been running from for a long time, because it was uncomfortable. I didn't know exactly what it was supposed to look like. Like, I had built businesses and I was an entrepreneur my whole life. So doing spiritual coaching and healing work was like, okay, that imposter syndrome came up, well, who am I to do this? And then I realized, who am I not to? And then when I made that commitment to God and I said, okay, just show me the way, everything opened up. And literally that just continues to happen.
Well,
shown what to
it
do.
almost seems like this is something that's a special gift you have. Would you consider that you're an intuitive?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause I feel that, yeah.
I'm I always tell my clients I'm an intuitive healer. That's why I'm able, when I say I can read energy, when I talk to my clients, I can literally feel what they're going to say before they say it. I can feel what's happening within their body before they say it. And a lot of times they'll say, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on. And it's just, it's because I can feel it.
You'd probably be great to help actors.
Oh,
Because a lot of actors, sometimes they can't switch gears or
yeah, that makes a lot of
do
sense.
something, because they're certain set in their ways,
Yeah.
and maybe they set some pattern from their youth, because I find that after talking to you, it's soothing. In fact, I feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable because sometimes, sometimes people like start to talk, but you kind of hold back.
Yeah.
You have this safe energy.
Yes.
So when you're in someone's space, they feel comfortable enough to share their personal stories
Yeah.
because you have to be
Yes.
vulnerable in order to recall those stories
Exactly.
and to get into details because sometimes it's not pretty either. I mean, I had a young lady that just interviewed before you. She was abandoned as an infant
Mm.
in Thailand
Wow.
on the side of the road. She was born without legs. And she basically was there for days, hungry and dehydrated, and mosquito bites all over her. And they brought her to a hospital. And later on, she was put in an orphanage. And then she was adopted by this wonderful couple
Yeah.
and gave her the best education. I got to tell you something. This girl, she's like a dynamo. She's a driving force.
I love it.
She's been in so many TV shows. She's about to do a feature movie. She's just a ball of energy. And she said to me, you know what? I may have been left on the side of the road, but the most incredible family adopted me, instilled wonderful messages and energy into me. Plus, I think I always had a special um, gift that no matter what happens, never gets me down. And she goes, besides, I never had legs. So I never know what it was
Yeah.
like to walk. So it's not like I'm missing anything. She was just so bubbly, full of energy,
Yeah.
but my arms are strong. I could walk with my hands.
Incredible.
And I gotta tell you something. I met her at a fashion show a few weeks ago. And there were these girls complaining because it was a little rainy. Oh, my hair looks like shit. All they did was complain. And she was giggling. She goes, really? The hair?
Right.
She goes, look at me. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I really don't care. Life is beautiful. Here's a
Perspective.
person radiating.
Yeah.
And even though she went through some traumatic stuff, she had this energy instilled in her. So I can imagine if you had a conversation with her, you'd feed off of that energy. It's a ball of fire that she has going. But I really am so impressed with what you do because I meet so many people all the time. And the reason why they're overweight or the reason why they have so many issues with their body is because of what happened when they were younger.
Mhm.
And they haven't
100%.
gotten over that. So it's I can give them the best training program, the best nutrition program, but if the master
Exactly.
computer's not rebooted,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
They're not going to function to their fullest.
Yeah. That's where people get really frustrated because I teach people all about, identifying the limiting beliefs and behaviors that are not in alignment with the things that you say you want, right? Like that's the kind of the first step. But it's going, okay, well, how do I change this? Instead of like forcing it and trying to will my way into it, when you do the healing work, you naturally release it and then you feel inspired to take action. Inspired action is what I call it. And it's this natural and, great energy. This is why I use the word alignment. You're in alignment, you're in flow, like you doing this podcast, right?
Mhm.
It lights you up. You're in complete alignment with your soul's purpose right now. It feels, you don't have to be drug here, right?
No.
You can't wait. You can't wait to do the interviews. And that's the difference. So that's why I love doing this work so much. And one thing I wanted just to share really quickly, I got a text from a client who owns a tennis club and she had torn some ligaments in her ankle. And I guess it was pretty bad. And the doctors had told her it was going to be like 6 months to fully heal. So we did a session and I did some energy work and then I taught her some energy work that she can do on her own. I said, just keep doing this and let me know what the doctors say. And she said she went yesterday. I have so many stories like this that I could share.
No, I love it.
Like so many. And she said the doctors were astonished. They could not believe it. They said her ankle is healing so quickly, it'd be max 6 weeks for it to be fully recovered, max. So she's like, I'm just blown away. I can't believe it. I could go on and on with these stories, but this is why energy work is so powerful. And I like to teach my clients, not only obviously for us to do it together, but how to empower themselves so that they can do it on their own as well.
Well, that's the thing is you can walk them through it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's not like, hey, go meditate for 3 hours. And no, I mean, you could say
Yes.
meditate, but if you're walking them through the process, people enjoy it. Like when I was a celebrity trainer, I trained so many big celebrities, and then people like saying, well, why do all these celebrities keep hiring you? I said, because I make it a fun experience. I actually work out with them.
Mhm.
And they go, really? Like when I trained Rodney Dangerfield, we worked out together.
Mhm.
He wanted to do exercise in the pool, so we did aquatics. Um, when I was working with Al Pacino, we did it together. Matt Damon, Nicole Kim, what I can go on and on and on. I worked out with them. Let's be training buddies.
Yeah.
Let's have fun.
Yeah.
I'll do a set, you do a set. But of course, I'm a very powerful guy. So for especially the men, they loved it. Wow,
Yeah.
look at all that weight. Wow, see his muscles grow. So they're like, yeah, I want to look half as good as you. So I made it a fun experience.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like me standing over them. Okay, 3 more, let's go. No,
Yeah.
that's not my style.
Yeah.
Mine's like you. Roll up my sleeves. Let's do this together. Let's take this journey, right?
Together.
So I love it. So when you say you like meet with someone for the first time, is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? What would be, walk me through the typical process of, say, for the first time. How long would a initial evaluation or interview, whatever you want to call it?
So usually I do 30 minutes just to make sure that we're a good fit and see where people are at. And then sessions are 45 minutes to an hour, just depending on what's going on. I try to keep them to 45 minutes, but oftentimes we run over because I'm not going to stop when we're in the middle and a lot is coming up, or we're releasing things, whatever the case is. So about that range.
Now, is it like, for instance, say like work out 3 times a week at least, or 4 times a week. Is there a mandatory how many sessions they have per week, per month? Do you recommend when you're first starting?
Everyone's different, and I have quite a few programs I've created as well. Like right now, I just created something called the Aligned Living Method, which is a program that people can go through at their own pace. It's a self-healing journey. And I've created some other things like that where you can do the work, right? And then if you need extra support from me, we can do one-on-one sessions. So it's different for everyone. Everyone's journey is unique.
So do you have audio tapes or do you do
I have an
consult?
app. I have an
Okay.
app where people can see my programs. I have free resources on there. And then as far as one-on-ones, I'm not really taking new clients at the moment, but that can always change. And that's why I've created these other programs so that I can still help people that I can't work one-on-one with. That was the hardest thing when I started doing this work is I want to be able to help anyone who's ready to actually take action and heal. And I realized there's only so many hours in the day, and there's no way that I can work with everyone who needs this. So that's when I started creating things like the Aligned Living Method.
So what if you did, say, for instance, seminars where
I've
you
thought
can
about
have like
that.
Tony Robbins? I remember
Yeah.
I know Tony when he was just living out of his car in the back of Gold's Gym. I mean, he was just a dynamo. He was nonstop power. He's huge. He had incredible genetics and brilliant man, but he was driven and he had no money. I mean, look where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
But now he does this
I've been to his
massive events.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider doing something like that?
It's interesting because if you would have asked me this any other time before now, I probably would have said no. I didn't see it. If I don't see it visually in my meditations, then it's just not in alignment. But now, yes, definitely.
Yeah, because I always get invited to do lectures, and I went down to Tampa and I lectured with so many different experts, and like Montel Williams was there. Beautiful. I mean, he was talking about what it's like to have MS and what he's gone through. It's incredible, his journey. But all these other experts, and there were just tens of thousands of people there. And I do those because not for the money, it's because I can help more people.
Mm-hmm. For
In
sure.
that one session, I can help all these people.
That's true. And they're captivated.
I got to tell you something. I was getting emails and, Mike, I need your help. And I really created this wonderful. It was at the Pilots Association. I did it for pilots, like some of the most unhealthy individuals.
Mm.
The average pilot is 54 years old, male, poor shape, poor condition, horrible. Their health, drinking issues.
Yeah.
I mean, pilots are a mess. You need help with them.
Yeah.
Seriously, they're psychologically, they've gone through some crazy stuff, and they fly in the air.
Right?
With
That's
okay,
crazy.
I mean, I got to tell you something. After spending time with them, I started saying, not only are they unhealthy physically, but mentally and emotionally, they're broken people,
That's so
and they're just
sad.
flying. They're like these. They're almost like robotic. They just do their flight, and that's it. And a lot of times, they don't get enough sleep. They're not eating enough because they're traveling, especially doing the international traveling.
Right.
It's just crazy. And when I hear about pilots having a meltdown, I was like, well, I can see why. After being in the theater with like 30,000 pilots, I was like, wow.
Wow.
And maybe I can help give you direction on that because they need
Help.
this really service years because there's so much damage in their minds.
Yeah.
It has to do, like you said, from way past, not just from the years as being a pilot, but what happened before they even took the job.
100%. Well,
And
this is humanity in general, you know? I would say, sadly, if I had to just guess, when I read the energy of the planet, well over 85% of people are suffering and still holding on to massive trauma. And that's why you see so much pain, suffering, darkness. You see the war, the conflict, the constant battles that are going on. It's because of what's going on within people.
yeah, it's so true. I mean, I work with LAPD, and I rebuilt the gym for West LAPD, and then I did some seminars to show the officers how to use the equipment. I gotta tell you something, a lot of them were suffering from injuries. They were chasing a perk, climbed over a fence. The perk, as they're climbing over, started beating his arm with a pipe,
Mhm.
fractured in like 8 different places, and they got
Wow.
pins in their arms and their knees. Then you wonder why they're so overweight and out of shape, because they've really endured a lot of injuries
Yeah.
or got rear-ended from a drunk driver, and their back and neck is horrible. It's never been the same. So they start putting on weight. Then they get moved to an office job, and then they're just miserable and get fatter. A lot of psychological.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can go on and think of all the organizations that I work with where, man, they can really use your help. Or maybe if you even created your disciples to work underneath your
I've
program
thought of that
where they could be
too.
in more and more areas. Because
Yeah.
really, I really think what you have is an incredible gift,
Thank you.
and it should be a light should be shined on it. Well, hopefully I'll be able to shine that light
Thank
on
you.
you. And I'd love for you to come on more often, and maybe, maybe
you.
think about creating your own podcast. I really think it'd be the best way because you can help more people.
Right.
Your
Yeah.
gift is amazing.
Thank you.
And even if you did is you worked like a dog 7 days a week, you can't help enough people.
No.
How are you going to help mass? That's why I did
Exactly.
my podcast was
Yeah.
I want to help people.
Yeah.
They're watching YouTube and all these other
Right.
places, and a lot of that stuff is personal opinion.
Right.
No, I bring on people with really great products or services that really do work.
Yeah.
And I don't have sponsors where I'm sponsoring anything or promoting anything, because unless I use it and believe in it, I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell out because someone wants me to sell their green drink or their alkaline water or whatever it may be. I only will do it if I say, hey, I use this product. It's fantastic. It helped change my life. But I'm not going to sell out. I'll pay for my own show. I'll give back to society, and the universe will reward me because I'm
Right.
doing the right thing. And like I know you are, but I'm just brainstorming because I'm an entrepreneur too. And I'm like, oh my God, how do we take this amazing woman with this beautiful skill set and this energy
you.
and get it out to the mass?
Thank
Seriously,
you.
because you need to help a lot of people. I myself have identified so many things that I do because of my childhood. Unfortunately, things happen in life and you can't
Yeah.
have the perfect childhood.
No. And most people don't. Most of us don't. I didn't. A huge part of what led me on my spiritual journey and to do my own healing work was because I came from a very broken home and I endured a lot of trauma. And through that, it was honestly such a gift because when you heal, you reclaim the parts of yourself that are lost and you open up your gifts and you just the magic turns on. It is so incredible. And this is what I want everyone to get to experience. And every single human walking the planet has this ability. It's just learning how to do it, right? And taking the time and having the courage to, like we talked about a little bit today, to face the pain.
Yeah.
Because it does require us to go into the shadow. I call it the shadow, to deal with what's been hiding and what's been swept under the rug and bring it to the surface. And we hid it there for a reason because it was painful. But when we bring it to the surface, we bring it to the light, we can clear it, we can heal it, and then we don't need to live with it anymore and we can be free. And that's what's beautiful. Then we can start to write our new story. We get to create whatever we want to create and manifest whatever we want to manifest.
Wow. Well, that's a great way to end this interview, isn't it? I want to thank you for coming on today. It was a beautiful experience. And I want to thank the audience for watching this episode of Live Well and Thrive. And please subscribe. We need your support. Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching this episode. Got great news. The merch is ready. You're going to see an array of all kinds of great products. Go to operationfitness.com. If you want to order anything, click on my store. Thanks for your support.